The gang that's dominant in this neighborhood that I grew up in is CAM, and that's Crazy Ass Mexicans. And the BDS, I believe, stands for Boulder Street, which is one of their cliques. We're running into gangs all the time here, so it's kind of hard when you're a kid to not be a gang member. What's up, Ese? Yeah, I'm gonna, what are you doing right now?
Walking my dog.
I'm gonna, this is my friend Anton. He does vlogging from on the internet. So I was just showing him, like, I was gonna take him to around the neighborhood and show him some of the historical landmarks of Boyle Heights or whatever. I'm gonna park it right now. I'll come say what's up. I'm just looking for, huh? All right, I'm gonna park right now. I'll come back. But I've lived in that house. That's the house I grew up in. I've lived in his house before. His mom let me stay there. I used to hang out right here all the time. And I've lived in this house on the top balcony.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, up here. That was dope. I used to pay, it was 2 bedrooms. Nice spot. They're all like old, you know, but they're nice. 2400 block of Cincinnati Street. This is a street that I grew up on. D-A-V-I-D. So my first name is David. My sister Tanya. And my pop's Larry. We put these posts here. And then this is the house I grew up in right here, 2417 Cincinnati Street. My friend Top Dog lives over here across the street. I've known that for like 30 years. The gang that's dominant in this neighborhood that I grew up in is CAM, and that's Crazy Ass Mexicans. And the BDS, I believe, stands for Boulder Street, which is one of the cliques. Under that, that's the guy's name who hit that up right there. My family was here before the gang, so I kind of, I don't know, I'm not a gang member, you know what I'm saying, but I know how to read the writing on the wall to be aware of where I go. This used to be Brooklyn Avenue, and there was a meat market right there. There was a movie theater, there was a liquor store. Behind that there was apartments. I remember a kid, a lot of the guys from East LA Dukes used to hang out on this side of town. And if you remember the movie Colors, there's a scene where Pac-Man grabs this kid and he sprays him in the face with green spray paint. It was on around the corner right here on that wall, that mural, but it's gone now. All those people, they paid them to move because I think they thought that they were going to build the Gold Line on Cesar Chavez before they built it on First Street. Or I don't know, maybe it's an excuse to get rid of people, you know? Business people, they plan in gentrification for 30, 40 years in advance, you know? Pet store's been here since I was a kid. I remember it being here. This mural's new though. I haven't seen this mural. I don't know how new this is, but it's pretty dope. All these vacant lots, they used to be like houses and apartments. And they go from, I think that's Fickett Street. You can tell there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks all the way to Soto. This used to be all residential. People living here. A lot of gangs here. I don't know if the city tore them down to get rid of the gangs. This King Taco right here on the corner of Cesar Chavez and Soto. From what I know, that this used to be a gas station many years ago. They sell so much food, it's popular that they got 2 spots. They got the outside spot and the inside spot. So if you come to Boyle Heights and you want some good ass tacos, I like King Taco. Right now we're on the corner of what used to be Brooklyn Avenue and Soto. This is Cesar Chavez Avenue now. They changed it in dedication to Cesar Chavez, the guy who organized the Farm Workers Union here in America. He was a big influence for Mexican American people. And over here across the street, this is personal to me, this is the Ramirez Pharmacy. I got my first job there at the age of 12. I used to just sweep, mop the floors, and run the register. I worked there for about 2 years. And they really helped get me off the streets and put some money in my pocket. This is titled The Greatest Love, and it's by Paul Botello. It's from 1992. I was here before this mural was painted. This is the son of Mr. Eddie Ramirez, and I worked for him. He's the one who would give me my paychecks when I was a kid. Here's a jewel right here that a lot of people don't know about. I read somewhere on the internet that they thought that this was Cesar Chavez. This is actually the face of the owner of this pharmacy, Mr. Ramirez, and his wife. So that's a lot of people don't know that, but I was here when it was happening. So that's Mr. and Mrs. Ramirez. He's passed away already, you know, but he's a good guy in the community. Let's talk about this. This is Chaka. I think he grew up down there like in Aliso Village or Pico Gardens. But he's from Boyle Heights. He's a very, very famous graffiti artist, or yeah, I don't know. I don't want to call him a tagger. He's a graffiti artist, but this is the man right here. He's up. I think he sells T-shirts online that just say Chaka. It's pretty cool. It's, you know, if you're from the neighborhood, you know, you remember the history of them and how you did a whole bunch of writing for graffiti from LA all the way to all over California. I'm talking about he did a lot. You gotta just Google Chaka. George's Burgers. Now, as a kid, I would come here all the time and get the George Special or the chili cheese fries at 11 at night. They were good, but they make me sick. But you know, they're very heavy, but very good food. If you're in the Boyle Heights area, check out George's Burgers. Now we're here on Breed Street. I'm going to show you the Breed Street Shul, which is one of the older Jewish synagogues that was here. They closed it down in 1987, but it's one of the biggest synagogues west of Chicago. It's been shut down since 1987 because of infrastructure problems, like for earthquakes. It's a historical building, so I don't think they can tear it down. When I was a kid, I actually was a misfit and we broke in there, so I've been inside of there before and it was all messed up, bunch of pigeons and graffiti all over the place, but now that I'm an adult, I can appreciate it for what it's worth as a landmark of architecture for the Boyle Heights community. This is the second elementary school that I went to. This is called Sheridan Elementary School. We were already kind of getting in gang member mentality. Like, we couldn't even wear Raiders jerseys to school. They used to make us flip our shirts inside out. It was a different era back then. That's the logo for the Sheridan Street Elementary School. But I remember I always wanted to sell chocolate bars and I couldn't because we didn't have no money to, you know, back then you used to have to pay for the candy up front and then they'd give it to you. But the principal at the time, I believe his name was Mr. Baker, he wanted to keep me out of trouble, and he said, you know what? Here, just take these boxes of candy. And I used to hang out on the corner of Brooklyn and Soto, and I remember I sold like 350 candy bars in 2 days, and I was probably like 11, and they were impressed by that. So that's a lot of candy to move in 2 days, but those are active corners. But yeah, I don't know. That's a memory that I have from coming to the school. And then this is also, for those of you that know that I rap, this is the first place that I ever met rap music and hip-hop. One of my friends came and he rapped the Beastie Boys song. The next day I came to school and I said I could do that, and I found a tape and I memorized it and I brought it to the schoolyard the next day and I started rapping, and I was in the 2nd grade when I did that. This is Malabar Street Elementary School, and this one, the logo is a bear. See the bear with the, anybody who remembers, if they came here they'll remember that. See the bear with the sweatshirt on and the M? That's Malabar. We got the helicopter circling the area. You can see there's some cops right here. This is the borderline of Boyle Heights and East LA. We're already over here coming on Lorena. But why I wanted to stop here is, if you guys are familiar with the Blood In Blood Out movie, this is a pine tree that in Blood In Blood Out they call it El Pino, and it was a famous piece of the film that made the character remember that he was home. When he seen it, it was like a landmark that knew that he was back in East LA, Boyle Heights area. We'll have lunch over there at the Margarito. That's the borderline East LA, Boyle Heights. It's actually the street that Lorena that divides the two areas. But it's really cool. A lot of cool Mexican culture there. They got Mexican music, a lot of like you know, specialty Mexican candy. They make belts, boots, a lot of leather work there. And then I'm also going to take you to the cemetery. You can see that here. That's the Evergreen Cemetery. It's one of the oldest cemeteries in Los Angeles. I'll enjoy talking about it because this is the neighborhood that I grew up in, so you take pride in it. This is that's more gang rating. It says Gage, and I guess, I don't know what the AMV stands for. There's always a lot of tagging crews in these neighborhoods, and then they end up getting inducted into the gangs later. See the writing on the wall that says BH? That stands for Barrio Big Hazard. So that's where we're gonna go in right now. We're gonna just circle through and do a ride through their projects real quick. But this is the Hazard Park area. I haven't been here in years, but there used to be a big white wall and it says Hazard in Old English. I don't know if they got rid of it though. Be careful over here. Yeah, back in the day there used to be a big sign that said it on the wall right there. You probably get that sign right there. I'll pull up like in front of it. just did a big sweep in this area for there's a lot of guys that were in the mob that would hang out and hide out over here. I didn't hang out over here on Hazard that much because look, you got the fucking 10 and the 101 right here, you know? So I didn't really cross over here. The freeways work as imaginary borders in LA to separate stuff, I think, you know? This side of the 10 is better than the south side of the 10 is like South Central, or this side of the 110 is better than this side of the 110. And you can see it. This is Assumption. Right here, it's a Catholic school on the corner of Evergreen and Winter Street. And my father went here when he was a kid. And we're gonna go eat at El Tepeyac right here also, which is about it's right up the street. So the story is when my pops was a kid, he stole a soda from El Tepeyac, and this was in the 1950s. And the nun caught him. So the nun took him back to El Tepeyac and told the owner. The owner said, "All right, you come back here after school. I'm gonna put you to work so you could pay for the soda that you stole." So after school, he went back. He thought he was in trouble, and the owner sat him down and gave him a burrito and another soda and said, "Hey, don't worry about it," you know. So ever since then, my pops would always want to come eat at El Tepeyac, and his name was Manuel, and the owner was named Manny. So he felt like there was that connection there for him. That photo, that's the old owner, the one I was telling you about, right there. We're here at El Tepeyac in Boyle Heights. We're gonna get some breakfast today. This is kind of what we built our tour around Boyle Heights, to come eat some Mexican food. Yeah, we'll get you like a little plate or whatever, you know. And if you don't eat it all, take it to go or whatever. I don't know what I want. All the food is good to me. So now what we'll do is go to Mariachi Plaza, and then from there we'll go to like Hollenbeck Park, because they're pretty close to each other. This is the First Street Flats neighborhood, and you can see the PF, Primera Flats, First Street. This building was famous. This is where they filmed American Me. This is where Edward James Olmos, and then this is where they stayed. This is where they had the party, and this is the building that he lived in the movie. This is a roll call. I'm just showing you graffiti from right here. So this is VPF, that means Barrio Primera Flats, and that's the First Street gang here in Boyle Heights. And then it's like a roll call. Big, and then that's probably their clique right there. And then this is, I think this is Blanco, and then there's Oso and Cloudy. We're right here at Mariachi Plaza in Boyle Heights on First Street and Boyle Avenue. This is a historic spot here because this shows the Mexican-American influence here in Boyle Heights and how it changed and influenced the community from being multi-ethnic to being over 95% Mexican-American Chicano. So over there you see some of the mariachi guys. They're getting ready. They're here for hire. So you could come here, like if you have a party today, you can come and negotiate with them and get them to come play at your party. Mariachi music originates in the state of Jalisco from Mexico. And that just shows the influence of what part of Mexico was predominant here in Boyle Heights.
So guys, we're over here in Hollenbeck Park. This park is very famous, has similar history to MacArthur Park.
When I was in junior high, people would come here all the time and have fights after school. So this park, to my knowledge, is predominantly like the Fourth Flats neighborhood right here. We're gonna know who's claiming this park just by looking at the graffiti. There's writing on the walls that says MC Force. So that's Michigan Chicano Force, which is on the other side of First Street. I don't know if they're claiming this neighborhood, but they got graffiti on the walls over here. Growing up in the neighborhood, since there's a lot of different streets, like there's a Chicago street, I believe there's a Houston street. I grew up on Cincinnati Street. There's a Michigan Street. You would identify certain people from what gang or neighborhood they were from by the sports team jerseys and shirts that they would wear. The gangs would use, like I knew like New York, the guys from V&E would wear a lot of New York clothing. The guys from 8th Street would wear any jersey that had an 8 on it. The guys from the flats would wear Falcon stuff because there's an F on it. You know what I'm saying? So different stuff like that. And when we were kids, that's how we would identify what subgroup they were associated with. There's another tag and it says white fence, the WF. So I don't know if this park is right now is got pied up between different neighborhoods, you know. But I don't see them crossed out. And then on this side you got Michigan Chicano Force again. So I don't know, maybe they're sharing the park. I don't know. Right now we're in the back of the Pico Garden projects, which would be like the 4th Street projects. This is Clarence Street. We're on Clarence Street, and we're running right under the old 6th Street Bridge in Boyle Heights. Boyle Heights is just east of downtown Los Angeles. So there's about 6 bridges that would cross in the LA River that would connect Boyle Heights to downtown LA. And this is one of the new bridges they're actually building, and like complete new design for people to walk across, to jog across. And it's gonna be like a beautiful jewel that connects downtown to the east side. We're on Glass Street now. If I remember correctly, this is the mob crew area. TMCs. I don't know how active they still are. This is still the mob crew neighborhood. So you see the VTMC? Can you see that? All right, cool. Just another different gang neighborhood. They're here. You just don't see them all the time. Oh, TMC, the mob crew. Stuff right here. Barrio TMC, 1st Street, Smiley, and that's his clique. Village projects, and they're all redone and brand new. They were probably, I don't know, they probably were built in the 30s and then they got redone like in the 2000s. This is home to the 1st Street flats. There was East Coast Crips here before, and there was some Bloods too, Aliso Village Bloods, a long time ago. But as it became more and more Chicano, those gangs ended up moving out of this area. The gang in the middle, between the 2 flats, they don't get along with both, so they're like in the middle of their rival enemies. So that's kind of a tight situation to be in, you know. You can't leave your 2-block radius. Before my pops and them, they moved to Cincinnati Street. They used to live over here closer to Prospect Park, but in the 40s, they were building the highways, all the interchange, the 5 and the 10 and the 60. So they ended up buying the house on Cincinnati Street, and they moved. But he was telling me when he was a little boy, most of the Mexican community congregated here around the Prospect Park area. So oh yeah, it's all up on the wall right here too. This used to be Brooklyn Avenue. This is Chicago Street, St. Louis. This is more the Tiny Boys neighborhood. Down next block, Bridge Street. The projects are all state facility built, right? So when you go to prison, you feel at home because they use the same light fixtures. They use some of the same doors, the same cinder block look. You know what I'm saying? So you feel, I felt comfortable in prison, kind of. You know, I felt like I was living in the projects again. And some of the schools here in Los Angeles are kind of built in the same way. We were just having a conversation about how big the fence is around this school and how some of these schools can kind of look like prisons. Maybe it's to protect the people inside from the people from the outside. This is a Theodore Roosevelt High School. It is a very famous high school. In the 1960s, it was famous for the Roosevelt walkouts. A lot of Chicano history coming out of Roosevelt High School. And high school in Boyle Heights. I didn't go to this high school because I got in trouble and went to the youth authority, and but this is where I would have went. I went down the street to Hollenbeck Middle School, junior high. We'll go over there next. This is right next to Roosevelt High School. This is the Boyle Heights Continuation School. So for people that maybe had to drop out or girls that got pregnant and they couldn't finish school, this is a place where they came and they had the opportunity to get their high school diploma or GED again. I came here when I was a kid because when I was going to Hollenbeck, I was with a program called Students Run LA to run the LA Marathon. So that was my experience coming into school. The Students Run LA program was based out of the Boyle Heights Continuation School. The gang problem was so bad here in the mid-90s when I was a kid going to junior high. There was a guy here named Harry Shabazian who was the head of the Students Run LA program. He wouldn't even allow me to shave my head. He says, if you want to run, you got to let your hair grow. Because at the time, to be a young Hispanic dude with a bald head could almost identify you as a gang member. And you might end up, we knew a lot of guys that would get shot, get hurt, get jumped. So, he was looking out for my well-being. This is Hollenbeck Middle School or junior high. I attended this in 1996 and 97. Hollenbeck's related also to Hollenbeck Park. The same guy, he donated a bunch of property here to the Boyle Heights area back in the day. So then you have the Hollenbeck Police Station. Later on, we'll pass by his gravesite where he's buried in Evergreen Cemetery. I want to talk about some of the graffiti here. You can kind of see like how it's a conflicting neighborhood. You have a bunch of different, you have VST, which I think is Breed Street. And then you have some white fence here in silver. You have a bunch of different gangs just coming together in one corner right here because all these kids come to these schools in this general area, and there's so many different gangs in every other couple blocks. When I was in junior high here, there was guys right here from Barrio Boyle Heights, which was a gang at the time too, I remember them hanging out in this general area. I believe that in junior high is like the time where they're inducting guys into gangs, So when I was here in junior high, this is 6th Street right here, and I would live over there on Cincinnati, 1 block past Brooklyn Avenue or Cesar Chavez. So as I walked home every day from school, I'd go through these guys from Boyle Heights, and then you'd go through the guys from 4th Street, and then you'd go through the guys from 1st Street, then you'd go through the guys from the East LA Dukes, and then you run into some of the guys from Cam. So you're running into gangs all the time here. So it's kind of hard when you're a kid to not be a gang member if you grow up in this environment. It was like 5 to 10 guys on every corner trying to recruit new members for their gang, right? Because that's how you keep your gang alive. You keep it strong by recruiting new blood, by getting new members. And the people in elementary school and junior high are the most impressionable and easiest to influence when those older guys are able to get us, and they were able to manipulate us for money to sell drugs or join their gangs or whatever. That's the high school police. We're in an area called The Hole here in Boyle Heights. This is predominantly from here and up. This is White Fence neighborhood, one of the oldest gangs in the Boyle Heights area. You can see some of the hit-ups up there, some cool graffiti, some East Side White Fence, and then a roll call of all the different members that are active in the area right now. When I was in junior high, this was the area that they would stand here and they'd wait for us to walk up this hill, and they'd hit us up, and they try to get you in here too. So this is where the 8th Street gang was mainly based out of, these apartment complexes here. They almost look like projects, but they're not.
The cheapest thing over here is probably at least $900 or even more. I was actually looking into renting something over here last year or 2 years ago, and it was it's a pretty high price. In Boyle Heights, it's still kind of getting more and more expensive, so I'm sure that
it's on the come up for sure.
Yeah, it is, and so this price is just going to keep going up. I think the main issue they have over here is, I don't think a lot of people have assigned parking, so you got to find parking, and a lot of times people break into people's cars at nighttime and stuff, and they still got shootouts and stuff over here. This apartments, they're right across from the projects.
Yeah, the projects are right across the street, and these projects are strata courts, and they're mainly for the V&E gang, Barrio Nuevo Estrada. They have a couple cliques all over the place, but I'll pull around so you can see the sign of the projects, the name of it. It's over here. But these look older too, kind of like how we looked at when we were at Ramona Gardens earlier. Are you gonna put the window down? And right here is East Side V&E, and that's their tags on the wall.
I showed you guys the other side of them, of these projects on Olympic. So you saw those murals. This is the other side.
Here's a big old V&E on there. So that's actually Barrio Nuevo Estrada. These are nicer. Sears building, one of it was like the first big retail stores here in Boyle Heights. It was like the mall back in the day. Everybody who grew up in this community, I know, would go to Sears, especially to get their workman clothes, you know, because in the Mexican community, there's a lot of people in the labor force. So they saw a lot of, you know, reflective orange and blue, yellow stuff, clothes, you know, so, but most of it's not even occupied, but the retail store is still open. This is the corner of Olympic and Soto Street. And the borderline, look at those guys, they look cool. And the borderline to Boyle Heights runs from Mission all the way to Lorena on the east to Marengo on the north and Washington to the south. That's the general city border of Boyle Heights. But I think Ramona Gardens is also considered part of Boyle Heights, but the freeway is separating that small area. You rolling? So this is Evergreen and 4th. You can see some EG tags right there. This is Barrio Evergreen over here, and we're going to the Evergreen Cemetery. And this is their territory. This is their neighborhood over here. Here's the whole Japanese section over here. There's a couple well-known people of notoriety that are buried here. I can't list everyone, but this is a old cemetery. This is Hollenbeck right here. This is his big. So that's the guy who Hollenbeck Junior High is named after, and Hollenbeck Park and the Hollenbeck Police Station. Here's Lancashire and Van Nuys, and those are the guys that the San Fernando Valley was founded after.
Big thank you to Ronin for taking his time, because we actually met early in the morning. A big shout out to him for doing this for you guys, showing his neighborhood and stuff, because he could have been doing something else right now.
And you say, when will I stop my game plan? Possess your chick, take everything you got, man. Now I'm doing my thing.